Alrighty, today is Monday, November 10th. I'm here with my friend Chase as usual and a special guest, Classy Neurotic. How are we doing today, Classy?
Doing fine, thanks for asking.
Good to hear. How's the weather over in over the pond, across the pond instead?
Pretty nice. It's starting to get a little bit cold, but I don't mind cold. I was just telling you guys earlier, that I was living in Boston for many years and I actually got adjusted to the cold and I actually like it quite a lot, but it's not as cold here as it would be in Boston. So,
Yeah, I mean, I live in DC right now, and yesterday it was like, I think it was like 66, 67. This morning it was almost like 25 degrees. So it was like 30 with a wind chill of 25, and I was like, what
wow.
happened overnight? This weather is just insane. Um, but I want to talk about a little bit about the breaking news, which was last night. It seems as though at least Senate Democrats are passing a vote in order to continue to fund the government and then end the government shutdown. What are your initial thoughts on this?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I found about it this morning. I woke up to pretty like disappointing news that like eight Democrats decided that they're gonna allow the vote to pass. So my understanding of the deal is that it's supposed to keep the government funding up until February, I think, and then it also comes with some concessions like returning the pay for the federal workers, returning workers that were previously fired. Um, I believe. I forgot there's one other concession. I'm not sure about the SNAP benefits, but for sure it's going to keep certain federal agencies open. But the most important thing is that there's nothing against for the ACA benefits,
Right.
nothing for like extensions for the healthcare, which is extremely concerning right now because just learning about how much healthcare costs could jump twice or three times or even four times for people. I mean, that's just insane. And it's very disappointing because, as much as I not a fan of Chuck Schumer, he's been standing his ground for now. And then to just like see like these eight Democrats break away, I don't know. I think that's like a sign of like weak leadership from his part.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's a little concerning, but I mean, the best case scenario is like they get because right now the House is still on recess. They have been since the beginning of the shutdown for over, 30 days now. I know Chase has some feelings about that. But there's the potential that they don't get this vote passed because they need, I mean, they can only have two Republican congressional members, stray away. Like if they do anything in excess of two, then things are up in the air. I don't know if you know who Marjorie Taylor Greene is, but she has been on a little bit of a culture shift over the past month and a half, I guess, saying all the right things, which we have our feelings on why this might be. We think that she's possibly going for a state office such as governorship. You know, you can still enter the race at any time. So I don't, there's not a doubt in my mind that she would try to entertain that possibility. So I think she's going on her little, atonement tour where she's trying to seem like a moderate. Do you think that it could get past the House, in your opinion?
I honestly don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, it's just it's hard for me to like really predict anything. I mean, I predicted that the shutdown was gonna be the longest ever, and it still is. It
Yeah.
still hasn't ended. I don't know. I've yet to, yeah, see any sort of end for this. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to scare people, but like, I was just talking about this with my friend the other day. But like, I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I'm not saying that this is for sure, but there's an entire possibility that this government shutdown could last for a lot longer than we really like needed it to, because a lot of these like federal layoffs and a lot of these like the cut funding, the snaps, a lot of this stuff is how do I put this? It's kind of part of the end game. I mean, in Project 2025, I mean, it talks about all these cuts and like layoffs for like these federal agencies. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know if they intended it to have that happen through the government shutdown, but yeah, we'll see.
What were you going to say, Chase? I saw you were about to speak.
Um, I think I was just saying, like, I think one, Thanksgiving's coming up, so like you can't miss the holidays. So I think it was always bound to be something to worked out. Now, I mean, as for whether they pass it or whatnot, but uh, I think when the airlines started to like 10% no longer, going out of these airports and things like that, like I think that really hurts both constituents but also the politicians themselves. And like once they start feeling the pain, then I think it completely changes the calculus of like what they are.
You know what's interesting? I saw that like this morning that the FAA announced that they were going to limit or stop 12 different airports from allowing private jets, like starting today. And then all of a sudden, overnight, we had, you know, the bill suddenly being pushed through. So it just, I don't know, that timing seemed a little sketchy to me. The fact that the FAA announced, like, they said it, I think they announced it either on Saturday or Sunday morning, like
Hmm.
they're going to start limiting uh, private jets coming into the airport, and then suddenly they went from we're going to limit it to now there's a continuing resolution being possibly passed within this week. So I don't know that I feel like that just to me is just like, okay, well, who pushed this? Why did they push it? But that's besides the point. I think that when it comes to this bill itself, and what I'm hearing from it, the fact that, Dems the only concession that they're getting, and if you even really want to call it a concession, is that there's going to be a guaranteed vote in December on the ACA benefits. Uh, I mean, I don't even think that's a real concession, right? Like they could have brought that to the House regardless. Now you could just get a guarantee on the vote, but I don't know. Well, I don't know how this plays out for Dems over the next couple of months, just because like, this I feel like that was the bare minimum. I think that they should have been fighting for some other concessions, if even if it wasn't just on the ACA. Like there are certain other things that I would have liked seen in the bill included. Because you're right, I haven't heard anything about like SNAP benefits and like what that looks like, and the fact that they tried to trim that earlier this year. Like, do we, increase funding for SNAP benefits at the very least? I don't know. It's just I think there's a lot that needs to be ironed out over the next couple days, and the fact that they're trying to get this bill passed by like best case scenario Wednesday, Thursday, um, because the house isn't even in yet. I think there's a lot going on with that, but I don't know. We'll see in the end. All right. So other than the government shutdown, um, Donald Trump has been I don't know what he's doing, but he's been tearing down the ballroom. He's been doing, you know, trying to fund everything except for the government. Do you feel like this has a negative impact when you see the government shut down and you're seeing government employees not being paid, but him continuing to tear down the East Wing of the White House and then build a ballroom? Do you feel like that has a negative effect on voters?
For sure. I mean, my understanding is he's not even like allowed to do that. Like I think these sort of like how do you say projects of like, like re renovating like the ballroom stuff like that are essentially illegal, and I think there's like some federal court cases regarding to that. I mean, I hope that this kind of like signals to voters that this guy is like not only is he just not fulfilling his promises when it comes to affordability, just making it everything worse for everyone because like these ACA benefits and also the food stamps and stuff like that, that largely impacts mostly impacts the people like in the red states for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think
Right.
that especially after last week's election cycle, and we saw like Dems even win in the smallest ways possible. I mean, here, I say here as if I'm in Georgia. For Chase, I'm speaking on Chase's behalf. In Georgia, we had it's the PCS vote, was it, or PCS?
Yeah, see, but yeah, I
PLC.
mean, it was like 25-point win for Dims, which I think, I mean, one, it speaks to the affordability at large, right? Like a lot of people's arguments here was like your power bills. And I think they're playing the Biden playbook basically and trying to go through that. And it's like, it's not going to work for you. It didn't work for him. And people are not, people are not going to be convinced that the grocery store prices are down and things like that just from you saying it because that's their lived experience. And
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at like the healthcare costs and how much they're going to balloon, I mean, it's truthfully, I mean, like it was a catch-22 with the federal government shutdown, in my opinion. Like you're either going to keep the government shut down and like struggle with that, or all these people are going to have their premiums skyrocket. And just, I mean, at that point, what do you do? Like, I don't think a lot of people can afford that, especially in this climate. So you go without healthcare unless you have like, a child or like some specific like reason why if you're young and you're fairly healthy, why, worry about the healthcare? And I think, the mere fact that there's no real solution on that front at all, um, it's very concerning, I think, with that.
Did you see this past weekend how he's going to send $2,000 to everyone because of how well the tariffs have been doing for the United States? Do you do either of you feel like that's in a sense like his way of saying like I'm gonna make sure that the Supreme Court can't rule against me because we're gonna give out $2,000 checks and then this is just gonna bankrupt America if they end up overturning these tariff decisions?
Sorry, I haven't heard about the $2,000 checks. This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Yeah. So go ahead, Chase. I know you're about to
Well, I
say.
mean, he was just kind of, it was one of those Trumpian, like, just throw it out there. Well, maybe we'll send checks to people for, I
Yeah.
think he said specifically like healthcare and tariff relief, which, there already is a discussion about like, maybe they'll have to refund all these tariffs out and things like that. So I think with the $2,000, we'll see. I mean, a lot of people they thought that the checks in the first administration were from him. Um, so I do think sometimes like just throwing out there, I'm gonna give you some cash real quick. Like,
I feel like that just shows right there that he's floundering, though, right? Like the fact that he was just like, all right, like let me see if I can start to gain back some momentum if I start throwing money at people. I just that to me just shows that he's concerned. He had to have felt a certain type of way after seeing Prop 50 pass, after seeing Mamdani win his election, after seeing Pennsylvania retain their three Supreme Court justices, after seeing New Jersey and Virginia overturn their or have elect two Democratic governors. Like, I just feel like there was just so much that happened, and then like we just talked about the Georgia race, right? Like, I just feel like there's just been so much that's been happening, and Republicans have underperformed on everything.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I mean the writing on the wall was earlier this year. I mean you remember there was a flip in with the Wisconsin Supreme Court seat. I
yeah,
mean they spent $25 million on that seat just for like one judge and yeah, I mean the writing's on the wall. I mean this is probably nothing, but like there's just random, but like apparently JD Vance's brother lost the mayoral race in
yeah.
Cincinnati. I just thought that was kind of funny.
I saw that. I mean, it was in Cincinnati, if I'm not mistaken,
mhm.
correct?
I think so.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe so.
that's insane. I mean, something as trivial as a mayoral race when it comes to your brother is the vice president of the United States of America and you can't even win a mayor's race. I don't know. That just right there in itself seems concerning. And like you said, the writing is definitely on the wall. I'm very curious to see how these next couple months play out, especially when if we're going to get, I mean, in theory, we're supposed to get the jobs data next week if um, everything passes and Congress votes yes on the continuing resolution. From my understanding, they already have the September jobs report ready to go. That was supposed to be released in October because the government shutdown started in October. They did not. They were not able to release the jobs report data. We're going to get CPI data. So like, there's going to be a ton of data that flows through. And from what I've seen, because of this government shutdown, there might actually be a decline in GDP for Q4, which if that happens, I can see I see Donald Trump throwing a hissy fit and I don't know, somehow blaming Dems and saying like, well, they shut down the government, just like we've seen him been blaming the Dems for shutting down the government, even though they have the House, the Senate, the president. the presidency. Um, I don't know. Do you have you ever like looked at Donald Trump and said like, is he capable of taking any kind of responsibility?
Well, the way I look at him is that like definitely there's a lot of like maliciousness in his part, but it's more incompetence like when it comes to like everything. Like it really is just like in pure incompetence just when it comes to even when it comes to like his own like popular policy when it comes to immigration, he's pretty bad at like implementing them. He's not a good negotiator. I mean, what was that thing with like Brazil where like yeah, he put like 50% tariffs on them and they still aren't like giving back what was it? Bolsonaro or whatever it was. The trade deals with China. Most of these trade deals are pretty fucking shit. Um, yeah, I mean,
There's not even any actual trade deals. I hate that we say that he made trade deals when the reality is there's no trade deals that have been actually made. Like trade deals are like these comprehensive economic like deals that show like certain are very specific, hyper specific to like how things are done. Like the only thing that's been happening is he's been implementing tariffs and like asking them to reduce tariffs. The only deal that he's actually ever made with another country is the U.S. Mexico trade agreement, like U.S. Canada trade agreement. So like the fact that like he's trying to take credit for making all of these deals and saying 90 deals in 90 days. We haven't seen a single actual comprehensive deal. There's not one. Anything that you guys want to add to that?
oh, okay, no, I thought Japan said that they were gonna like invest some money in American businesses.
They said that they were going to invest, but there's no actual formal agreement. There's no signed document,
Oh, okay,
like
I see.
nothing that has actually been agreed upon. Um, I mean, you can literally look this up. Like if you try to look up like any comprehensive deal, there isn't one. There's only the promises. Like UK has promised some stuff. Canada has promised some stuff. Mexico has promised some stuff, but there's no like the deal that they actually made was back in 2017, 2018. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chase, when Donald Trump was
The
first in
USMCA.
office. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
which I mean, I think that is also even an example of like just the way in which this entire approach to economics is questionable at best, right? You create a whole deal in your first administration, and then what do you do when you come back to office? Do you strengthen it? Do you do anything like that? No, you throw a wrench in it.
Right.
And, half of these deals, it's like he creates the scenario of like the awful tariffs. He creates the chaos of the relationship between those two parties. And then he comes in and he tries to fix everything, supposedly, right? And then it's like half the time he fixes it to where it's like it's almost the same situation, but maybe there's like some little tariff in there that he likes, right? Like, I mean, in a lot of ways, I think sometimes the tariffs and things that he does, it doesn't really benefit us at all. Like he says it's like a better trade deal for the U.S., and then he gets into a situation, and I'm like, that doesn't sound good for us. That's not like beneficial.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think with the trade deals and all that kind of approach, it is kind of interesting to see how this court case goes, and like if they have to refund tariffs and that the tariff amounts that they have are too high, or against the Constitution, then it's like, where do you go from there? That was your entire basis economically. So I almost imagine that you would have to kind of go back to like the basics and just be like, well, what did we have that, originally or whatever, try to pursue something like that. But it it is, I mean, it kind of the tariffs was the whole thing that underpinned the entire philosophy, right? So like if you don't have that, where do you go from there?
Yeah, that's a really great point. I just don't because like he doesn't have like anything else that he was talking about, especially when he was like campaigning on. Like it was just simply like tariffs are going to bring, manufacturing back, more jobs to the United States. I mean, maybe you can say that, the whole restriction on H-1B visas, like that's another way, but like even that is de minimis in terms of like the entire like population for or the entire like totality of GDP itself because like they're
Mm.
H-1B visas make a very, very small amount of the working population within the United States. It's generally W-2 employment. Like there's, it's not permanent residence. It's not employees authorized to work. It's simply just W-2 American citizens that are primarily working. So like that's not even a noticeable difference. Um, and then on top of that, I feel like there's just so much unknown, especially for the past like month and a half, because like none of the data has been released. We don't know what inflation looks like right now. We don't know what the jobs report looks like right now, other than like what ADP has shown, but we don't know what unemployment looks like. Um, I don't know. Classy, have you actually followed about whether or not you think that they're gonna cut rates in December? Because it looks like right now that they are
Oh,
going
I
to.
haven't looked into it. My bad.
No, you're good. I feel like that's something that I've been paying attention to just because like Donald Trump has really been pushing for that. He's been calling Jerome Powell too late pal. He's been pushing for rates to be cut. Have you seen that he introduced a potential for a 50-year mortgage? You're on mute, Classy.
I heard about it, but I haven't looked that deeply into it. Can you tell me more about it?
Yeah. Yeah. So the 50-year mortgage is basically they're just trying to it's big with to help with affordability. Basically what they're doing is they're introducing a 50-year mortgage, which would be maybe like a couple hundred, 300, $400 less on each mortgage payment, but over the long run, it almost doubles the amount of interest that you pay. So like for example, if you were to buy like a $500,000 house and you pay, $750,000 in total, but $250,000 of that is interest, and then the 500 for the actual loan or for the actual house itself, you'd pay $750,000 for the entirety of the loan on a 30-year mortgage. Whereas with the 50-year mortgage rate, you would pay like if you bought a $500,000 house, you'd pay $1 million over the lifespan because you pay another 500,000 in interest, and that's because there's an extra 20 years of interest payments on top of what a general loan consists of. Um, that was just introduced literally this past, I want to say it was this weekend that he announced that he was going to
Okay,
possibly.
that sounds pretty horrible. I
Yeah.
mean, you're not gonna pay that off.
No.
Exactly.
Here, something more affordable. Here's a 50-year mortgage.
Yeah.
Like there is no realistic way where that's a good decision. Not at all, never. And that's not answering the affordability crisis. It's actually, I think, in some ways making it worse.
Yeah, you're
But he was like,
locking it.
look at what I'm doing for you, you peasants. Like, I'm going to give you a 50-year mortgage and get you more in debt. But
Yes.
it does make sense for somebody who worked in the real estate business, does it not? Kind of. I'm just
No,
saying, like
you're right.
it benefits certain people, but it's not going to benefit the person who's purchasing the home.
No, I agree. I 100% agree. It's insane to me to think that like I'm actually kind of surprised that Donald Trump would float this idea because it just sounds so terrible. Like, and people have been trying to justify it like, oh, if you sell your house early, then you're not going to be able to, like, you don't have to deal with the whole 50%. And I was just like,
But who's
oh,
gonna
that's
want to buy the
50%.
house?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, but not only that, it's just like a lot of people when they buy homes, their intention is to live in them either for the rest of their life, especially if you have kids, or for an extended period of time. It's like it's supposed to, in theory, be over 30 years. You're not just house hopping. Like that's just insane to me. So like I don't know. I don't think that there is any real thinking behind of what they're doing here because Chase is right. Like it's just more debt. Like you're literally going to be instead of doing a 30-year loan, you're taking a 50-year loan. And if the average home buyer right now is like over the age of 30 years old, you're literally signing into debt for the rest of your life. Like there's not even a question about that. So I don't know. I think it's insane. I think that the two policies that he tweeted about this weekend, I think he was just on a manic episode or something because the fact that he was trying to say like we're going to give Americans back $2,000 back, and then on top of that, we're going to introduce a 50-year mortgage is just insane.
Got to give you a little money back so you can afford it.
Yeah. Yeah, that $2,000 is going to make a huge difference on that house.
Hey,
I don't know if it's a
Um,
distraction from like the food stamp or something. Yeah, I mean, I was just like reading about like the whole like food stamp situation though, and I'm just like extremely concerned about like how many people are gonna possibly just like skip meals and stuff like that over, like what's going on right now. I mean, just like I was just reading that like most of the people who are recipients of these like, SNAP benefits are children and the elderly, people who can't just easily like feed themselves. And then the adults that do receive benefits, the overwhelming majority of them are working, of course,
yeah,
right? And research has shown that this is actually one of the best government programs out there because it keeps people from starving, basically, though it keeps them at least at some level of how do you could say, of just being able to, just like live out their lives. And when you take care of people's food costs, of course, then they can spend their money on things like other important things like housing, healthcare, and medications, like what have you, though. So
hmm
I'm just like concerned, are people gonna start like skipping out on prescriptions because they can't afford to eat? Like, I don't know.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Like
well, I was already concerned with like the cuts to SNAP with the big beautiful bill. So yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, when it comes to food insecurity, like, a lot of crime is done because people can't afford things like housing, like food. So like they result to crime. And so like I feel like cutting SNAP benefits you could start seeing an uptick in violent crimes that happen because people are trying to put food on their table. Um, and that's like you said, like another scary thing. And like the fact that people are possibly also going to starve to death because they don't have any means to afford food. Um, yeah, there's just I don't know. I think the Republican Party right now, it used to be the party of like family values and like trying to make a difference, and now they bend the knee to the whim of Donald Trump, and it's really sad to see because like they're not even being fiscally conservative anymore, right? Like you look at the big beautiful bill that adds trillions to the debt, to the deficit, so or both. So it's just like we see what he's doing in terms of uh like his everyday um like what Donald Trump is doing in terms of his like everyday like resolutions in order to like fix the United States of America. And it's just made it worse. Like introducing these tariffs, we've seen only as of October, we only saw 200,000 jobs created this year. That was lowest since 2009. We saw the stock market take a huge plunge back in April. We are seeing, plane crash. Like we had the deadliest plane crash than we've seen in like over like 5 years. Um, so it's just like, I don't know, there's just a lot that's been going on with Donald Trump and um and conservatives this year that I mean, like, are they even gonna like what is your opinion? Do you feel like the party is gonna try to rectify over the next couple of years, or do you think that they just continue to kind of bend the knee to Trump?
I mean, I think they're trying to achieve as much as they can within these 2 years, and I don't know. I mean, there's still the whole question of the whole, congressional redistricting. With like, they're changing the congressional map so they could just like make them as red as possible.
Yeah.
So we still have to wait with that. I mean, I correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I support Prop 50, but like if let's say, he draws up the map, Newsom draws up the map such a way that like they gain a couple more seats, that might cancel out Texas, but it may not cancel out like the other states like I don't know, let's say like Mississippi or Alabama or Ohio, for example.
Yeah, North Carolina is redistricting, but they're
Yeah.
they're already so gerrymandered that they can only have a +1 seat because like people don't
Okay.
realize like Raleigh and Charlotte are very left-leaning cities, and so like they're redistricting like in order to be safe, and they can only grab one additional seat. I know Missouri has also talked about redistricting. I forget. I think Maryland is now talking about redistricting. We saw Governor, what's his name? Wes? right?
Westmore.
Westmore, yeah. We saw Governor Westmore talk about potentially redrawing his maps in response to I forget which state where Pritzker is talking about potentially redistricting as well. I can see New York possibly putting something on the ballot for next year if Florida gets heavily involved. So I think there's going to be like an all-out war like within the next couple of months and redistricting if conservatives continue to do what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, certain states have it wasn't even passed for Republicans, and I also think that they're banking on certain gains with, like, for example, the maps in Texas were very like based on Latino gains. Okay, your gains are not there anymore. They don't like you. And I think, they're banking with like all these gerrymanders are going to be so great, but you can only gerrymander so much. And if you show the results from like Tuesday and reflect that kind of like map terrain to 2026,
Hmm.
I mean, it will still be close, but I don't think the gerrymanders are going to completely work. And, I also think that there might be some interesting kind of gerrymanders. So, for one example, Utah is doing something where they're gerrymandering, basically trying to get four Republican districts, right?
Right.
But in the process, they're getting two districts that's like it's a +7 district for Trump, and I think like +2 or something like that. Kind of closer numbers.
Yeah.
And in a blue wave year, they might be able to win that. So I think that's the thing. Like, there's a reason why you're having the gerrymander that's that hard. And I think that, there's clearly you're either nervous, you don't think you're doing too well, and you're trying to react with that to at least keep your gains and be able to deliver whatever you're trying to deliver, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the next couple months are really going to be like eye-opening. I feel like this redistricting war, we've never seen anything like not even just in our lifetime, but like I feel like over the past 100 years, like you know, what's it called? Mid-year redistricting is an insane thing to start to really get yourself involved in. And now every state is trying to react to another state. And I'm like, what the hell? Like what is going on here? So I don't know. I feel like Trump is just completely like readjusted the way that we do things. And I think that's what's scary to me is like, will we ever go back to the norm? Because like I get the frustration with some of the things that we've done in the past, but like Donald Trump is like completely trying to tear down institutions as a whole, and that's just scary to me. Um, Want to segue a little bit. Who do you think is the leader of the Democratic Party? And if, in your opinion, who do you feel like is going to have the best shot at winning the Democratic nomination in 2028
Are you talking about like for the Senate or just like for the presidency?
for the presidency?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's of course the typical contenders like Newsom, Harris, Pete Buttigieg, but then definitely there's like lesser known people that I'm really excited about, like Andy Bashar, Ro Khanna is definitely someone that I really like, appreciate like what he's been doing, like one of the few Democrats like with a backbone right now, though. And of course, there's like talks about AOC possibly running. Um, with Newsom, I know he's like really popular right now with a lot of people, and some of the polling has shown that he's like very strong. I just don't see him doing that well because I can imagine all the campaign ads have to do is just show like the homelessness and like, in California, just say, "Oh, do you really want this to like come to like the rest of America?" Not to mention, I mean, me personally, I would prefer someone that has a better stance on the whole like Israel-Palestine situation. I mean, I know it's kind of what's the term? Sorry, is there like a lot of noise in the background?
No.
Okay. Yeah, there's some like garbage disposal though. It's a long shot, right? And I understand that like the way funding is, it's hard to like have people like completely like change their position. But right now, for example, we have Seth Moulton who's running for Senate in Massachusetts, and he said that he's not going to take APAC money. he's still very pro-Israel. He's still like very much like supporting Israel, but then we also have the fact that this year 60% of Senate Democrats voted against any more offensive weapons to Israel. And this was like, of course, in context that many of these like are moderate Democrats, many of these are conservative Democrats, people who have received AIPAC money and pro-Israel money before. So I hope people can see the writing on the wall that people don't want to support apartheid genocidal states anymore. Um, so my point is I hope we could get someone that's like at least like actually serious about holding like Israel accountable for its war crimes. I know there's a lot of talk about Kamala Harris possibly making a comeback. I just don't see, I mean, I don't have any hate against her, but it's like she's just not like a popular, she wasn't a popular vice president. She's very socially awkward. She had her own actually please clap moment when she first announced she was running for president. I don't know if you remember, but this was back in 2024 actually though. And I think a lot of people of course still gonna blame her for not doing enough to like push Biden to like not run again in 2024, which was just a major disaster. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, the Kamala Harris conversation, I just feel like after she released that book, where she kind of like pushed the blame off to everyone else except for herself, it just seemed like very Donald Trump-esque to me because like she was just like, Biden should have dropped out earlier. And then she was like, the reason I didn't go with Josh Shapiro out of Pennsylvania was because he seemed like he just wanted to focus on himself. And like throwing people under the bus, especially like big time contenders like that, and especially in a state that can be flipped so easily, I just thought was a little concerning. You guys can still hear me, right?
I can
Yeah,
still
we can
hear
hear
you.
you.
It's just
You
like your
froze.
face is frozen.
Yeah, I saw my face was
Um,
frozen. That's why I was asking if you guys could still hear me.
I
Um,
just want to say something very quick about Josh Shapiro. Did any of you read the New York Times article "Why the Future of the Democratic Party is Not Mandami"? It's him, and it's like a picture of Josh Shapiro.
I saw the
Uh,
headline. I didn't read into it
I
though.
haven't read into it yet, but like I hate to say, but he might actually be a top contender for the Democratic Party. I'm not a particularly big fan of him, but I'm just saying that like he's a governor of a swing state.
yep.
He's well liked by the people of that state. He has a decent mixture of both like liberal and conservative policies. So like he might be seen as like a Democratic establishment favorite just because like he knows how to win over Republican voters and stuff like that. Again, I'm not a big fan of him, but I think like he probably would have a better chance of winning, in my opinion, the primary over like Newsom or like AOC.
I'm right there with you. I think that he's probably the top contender against Newsom. Like if he were to throw his hat into the Chase, I want to hear what you're thinking right now because like you know how I feel about Newsom, but I do agree with you. Josh Shapiro is a very strong candidate. The fact that he is in a swing state and he is popular, I think is like what makes me think like, okay, if he's not president, I feel like he's the obvious choice for VP. It's either him or okay, go ahead, Chase. No, go
Well,
ahead.
yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I think it's going to be everybody. I mean, there's going to be so many people running for president that
Oh yeah.
it's we're not even going to be able to like fully understand like who takes off, who delivers well, or who gets this kind of constituency. But I do think that the energy is leaning much more towards somebody who's progressive. Like I just feel like somebody wants somebody who's a real fighter, and that doesn't have to be somebody who's been progressive, right? Like I
Right.
could see Newsom going on a path where, he wants it so bad, he's so hungry for it that kind of just dominates. And I hate to say it, but he went to Texas right after the Prop 50, and he was sounding. Well, I mean, he wasn't sounding. He was basically showing you a preview of what's going to happen, which he's going to run for president. That's
Yeah.
clear as day.
Yeah.
But I do think that, I argue Andy Bashir is the perfect example because why even talk about a swing state when you could talk about Kentucky and being popular in Kentucky, right? It's almost like the Bill Clinton argument to me,
Yeah.
that he
Yeah.
used with like, in his election, it was like kind of like I'm Arkansas, right? And, using that and kind of building it up. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I think there's many, many contenders, and I think we will we will see what happens with that. It's going to be everybody critiques Harris too. They're like, why would she run again? And it's like, do you think it's going to be easy? Like, it's not going to be easy if she runs again. So, I think having a complete and competitive primary, I think the Dem wins regardless. I just think these 4 years are going to be so bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like my issue is that like even if the Democrats do win in 2028, which I think they're in a good position to though, are we gonna have another repeat where like, the damage like that was done during these 4 years are so bad that it just leads to create more problems during 2028 that like no matter who gets elected, it just creates so many problems. They get blamed for it because they're the ones in power now.
Yeah.
And it's just we need a Democratic trifecta for like a
Hmm.
decade or something to undo all the damage. I mean, all the damage like domestically speaking with all the cuts, all the federal layoffs, all the how do you say just like authoritarian like power moves with like
Yeah.
everything, all the damage that's done overseas. I mean, no country wants to trade with us because if not, like, oh, you piss us off a little bit, we're gonna put tariffs. So a country wants to have an alliance with us because we'll lead you out to dry if whatever the going gets tough or whatever, like people feel a certain way. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, honestly just like really concerned.
Yeah. I definitely think there's going to be some challenges with that, but
Like, sorry,
I mean,
just very quick. I just want
yeah,
to just before I forget, like, how do we even get like a Democratic Senate majority now? Because there's more red states than there are blue states, and it's just so difficult to like
yeah.
flip one now. Yeah.
I mean, I do think like with that, I mean, Dems are going to have to start running one, throw out, the consultants and the people that are telling you, don't say that, don't say this, say whatever.
Yeah.
And I also don't think it's about progressive or moderate. I think it's just speaking the truth. And it's like, if it lands with people, it lands with people. But with, I think the Senate, I think a lot of people, they try to do this like Republican light or like, I'm, kind of more moderate. And it's like that, I don't really think that works anymore. We live in a very nationalized environment, regardless of, what position it is. So I think sometimes just running with what you have and just kind of being out there with it. I think that's how you win red states. It's actually not, being moderate. It's speaking to the culture in that area and actually resonating with them. So perhaps maybe we can do some candidates where they have some appeal like that. Or I mean, there's really not much other options besides trying to win red states, or at least becoming competitive in them at the very least.
Yeah. And I want to touch back on your point, Classy, about like, the Democrats are going to be blamed. Yeah, that's exactly what happened to Joe Biden. As soon as he got into office and inflation rose, they immediately blamed Joe Biden, even though we outperformed every G7 country, every G20 country in recovery. Like, at the end of the day, like it was worldwide inflation. It wasn't just a United States thing, but yet Joe Biden was the one that caught all of the flack, and it was solely because of what happened with COVID, and like the mismanagement of that. So, um, but yeah, so like regardless, Democrats are always going to have to foot the bill and take the blame. That's just how Donald Trump operates, right? Like I said earlier, Republicans have the House, they have the Senate, they have the presidency, yet somehow the government shutdown is the Dems' fault. So, but that is besides the point. Is there anything else that you want to talk about, Classy, before we let you go?
Yeah, I mean, thanks again for having me on. I really appreciate you two inviting me here to talk. I mean, yeah, I mean, good luck for your show. I'll definitely tune in. It seems like you guys are doing something great here. So yeah, thank you. And yeah, if you guys haven't already, just like, keep up with the news as much as we can. And just, stay in it for the long run. I mean, I'm in Europe right now, but I intend on coming back to the United States and yeah, sure.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it, Classy. We'll definitely have to have you on again sometime soon. Everybody like and subscribe. It helps with the algorithm, but we will talk to you guys later.